ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
Oh, it's the Herd on ESPN Radio. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline and simulcast on ESPNU. Jim Harbaugh is coming on in about 20 minutes. All sorts of stuff with the NBA. And the Women's World Cup last night got a 7 rating. That beat World Series games. Yeah, nobody cares about soccer. Well, it's just because it's patriotic and random. Oh, really? How come the Olympic ratings keep going down? Well, I mean, the only reason people watch soccer is because, it's the patriotism thing. So why are soccer ratings going straight up? And Olympic ratings? That's patriotism, right? You don't care about lose. You watch for patriotism. Why are those ratings going down? It ain't the randomness, and it's not the patriotism. 2 sports in this country are going straight up. College football, soccer. It's always been funny about soccer, guy. The rating last night for the Women's World Cup wasn't even the final. The final is going to get a 12. The final is going to blow away the World Series. Well, that's because there's just one game. Doesn't work that way, cowboy. The way it works for a 7-game series in any sport, the same people watch every night. Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports, last year the NLCS got a 2-8. Last night, same network, this got a 7. More people right now would rather watch a women's soccer game in America? Well, that's just because of patriotism. Wrong, because the Olympic ratings keep going down. Well, it's just because the randomness. Wrong, or the Olympic ratings wouldn't be going down. Soccer is growing. But what's funny about soccer denier? He's often anti-gay marriage, anti-immigration, anti-this new technology thingy, and anti-pot legalization. Think I'm wrong? Here's the latest survey on the 7 states that don't like soccer. Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. Here's the 7 to 8 states that do like it. Washington, D.C., New York, California, Massachusetts, Virginia, Colorado, Oregon. The 2 states right in the middle, Nebraska, Nevada, swing states. Don't love it or hate it. I always find it funny about soccer guys. Certain people like change, and certain people don't like change. Certain people are into tradition, and certain people aren't. You can pick either one you want. You don't hate soccer. You think you hate soccer. Just like people think the opposite of love is hate. No, it's not. Love and hate are an emotion. They're very similar. The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of hate isn't love. The opposite of love and hate is indifference, no passion. You think you hate soccer. You hate change. Numbers out. The states that don't like soccer, they don't like pot legalization, immigration, gay marriage, and that new technology thingy. It's always been that way. I've been preaching this for 10 years. Now I actually have stuff to back it up. You can always feel it. You're making it political. Soccer really is political. It lines up. Progressives like it. Conservatives don't, as often. Not exclusively, not absolutely, not always. But the Women's World Cup just got a 7, and it wasn't the final. Sunday's the final. I wouldn't be shocked if it got a 12 or a 14. You know what kind of number that is? That's what the national championship gets in college football, and that's only played once a year. So I laugh at people, the soccer denier. Let's be honest about hockey. The same guy, you don't hate soccer. You're the same guy that likes hockey. I mean, hockey, if you lead 1-0 and have a good goalie in the playoffs, you can turn the game off 7 minutes in. It's the same thing. A lot of opportunities, not many goals. Goalies are huge. You get flurries, but not a constant barrage of goals. Oh, I hate soccer. I don't. You don't like change, and America's changing. And one of the things that's changing is more young people, they like soccer, not baseball, not golf. It's not the soccer. It's the change thing, and it shows it here. The 7 states don't like it, and the 7 that do. Bama, Idaho, Wyoming, Arkansas, Deep South, don't like it. D.C., New York, California, Virginia, Oregon, like it. I'll also say this, that I've also said this in the history of my tenure at ESPN. We've only been mad once when we lost soccer to Fox. Not a good day here. Lose baseball, lose lacrosse, lose this. When we didn't get the World Cup, not a good day here. There's a reason. Smart guys who run networks totally get what's happening in America. And you can sit in that trench, and you can be anti-this and anti-this and anti-that. World's changing. Don't have to watch soccer, but every sport has a trajectory. Last night, Women's World Cup, not even final, 7. Holy moly. Here's my other takeaway. We underestimate culture in sports. If you think about the 7 or 8 most dominant sports teams in America, UConn women's basketball, St. Louis Cardinals, SEC football, Syracuse, Virginia lacrosse, San Antonio Spurs, United States Women's World Cup. What do they all have in common? The one thing they have in common, a committed, operationally elite, focused culture. We underestimate culture. We pay attention to all the athletes. It's all about upstairs. It's about the guy at a baseball game wearing the sunglasses, the GM that you never hear on TV. It's all operational. You cannot, how many of you out there are really talented, but you have an awful boss or an awful culture? Stanzik, put your hand down. This country is filled with unbelievably talented people, they can't overcome the culture, the boss, the management. You go look at all the teams in this country that rock, the Cardinals, SEC football, Spurs, Syracuse, Virginia lacrosse, UConn women's basketball. It's not about the players. They're almost incidental. It's about the operations. Peter Guber, Hollywood heavyweight, was on our show this week, and he said, it's all about upstairs.
It's culture. What is the culture of your organization? That's the best business plan. What is the culture top to bottom? Not just the ownership and the investors, but the management, the operation, the relationship, not transaction, with the fans, with the media, with the players. You build a culture from the bottom up, not from the top down.
There you go. So really interesting stuff. I am fascinated, not just with the soccer, but I am fascinated with the growth of it. And I've said this through the years. I've watched my stepsons go from baseball fans to soccer fans. They wear Liverpool outfits. They play lacrosse. They play soccer. They don't watch baseball. They just don't. The NLCS on Fox and Fox 1 last year got a 2-8. Last night, 6-8. That's not even the final. Not even the final. NBA free agency. It's a lot of guys moving around. I don't think it's a lot of guys changing the landscape of the NBA. There's a lot of Patrick Beverleys moving around, but I don't think Patrick Beverley's winning or losing a championship. It's sort of like quarterbacks. The really good ones don't leave in their prime. LaMarcus Aldridge is the sexy free agent. I think it'd be a nice get for the Lakers. It'd be a nice get. I don't think he changes the landscape of the NBA. I think Durant, LeBron would. So I thought last night was funny. I was on Twitter, and I was watching all this stuff, and I didn't engage. I just read it, and it was fun. I mean, it was crazy. It was guys, a lot of B players moving around, getting paid, timing's everything, but I don't think it changes the league much at all. Michigan head football coach Jim Harbaugh is around the corner. He's intense.
You're in the herd. The Thundering Herd podcast.
I think I've only met Jim Harbaugh once or twice. He's very intense, but I like intense. Most of my friends are intense. I'm kind of intense. And he's the head football coach at Michigan. And people have to be realistic about this. He didn't get a huge class last year because he came in a little late. So never forget, Pete Carroll was 6-6 his first year at USC. You can't turn stuff around overnight. Let's not be unrealistic here. But will he turn it around? Oh, absolutely. Michigan's a traditional power. He can recruit. He knows quarterbacks, and that drives the sport. Jim Harbaugh's joining us. When are you at your least intense? Because you are a pretty intense guy.
Well, good morning, Colin. How are you?
I'm great, Coach. How are you?
Good to hear your voice.
Thank you so much. Is there ever a moment in the day you're like, oh, man, I'm cupcake. I'm soft. I'm easy. When's the part of the day that you are just like you're a pushover?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe ask Sarah, my wife. I don't know.
Yeah. When you go to Michigan and you take over a program, and you're starting out, like when you're flying there, and you're flying there to take the gig, do you have a yellow pad, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, this? Like, what was the first thing you changed at Michigan?
I don't know what that the very first thing that was changed. Maybe altered, but it's just a conversation at a time. You get to work, and I remember that first day press conference, and then we got to work hiring the staff, recruiting players, recruiting players that were already on the roster. One conversation at a time. That's how you get to know people.
Yeah. I watch you on Instagram and I watch you on Twitter. You're very much into the community. It's like you and not that you weren't everywhere else, but it does feel different at Michigan because of your history there. It does for me when I watch you. You really seem to be all in.
Yeah, I would agree. Can't disagree with that.
What do you think? Because Jim, I didn't think you'd go to Michigan. What was the day like you decided? Where were you?
I don't know if there was a day or a place or a time. Just was what I felt in my heart was what I wanted to do. I love Michigan. I love football. I love coaching football. So feel very blessed. I guess I have an attitude of gratitude that I'm able to be a part of this game and be a part of this great university.
What are realistic expectations?
Realistic expectations are that we're going to be better today than we were yesterday, be better tomorrow than we were today. That's our plan for success. So simple, it just might work.
Yeah. Well, what college football coaches, NFL coaches, Jim, I don't know the difference hours-wise. Is your day that much different, college to pro?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much different. There's more similarities than there are differences, actually, Colin.
Like how? I mean, basically you get in early, you leave late. It's the same.
Yeah, that would be a similarity. Coaching football, building a team, same, more similarities than differences, I would say.
Future of the Big Ten. You're at Michigan. Urban Meyer at Ohio State. James Franklin. When I look at these coaches, I say elite recruiters, elite coaches. I said this yesterday. The Big Ten feels like it's a bye for me. Like, do you have a sense of that in the feel for the conference overall?
The Big Ten feels like a bye to you?
Yeah, it does. Because
how does it feel that way? I don't.
You don't see that?
No, I don't. You explain that to me.
Well, because the bottom line. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Michigan's a heavyweight. Ohio State's a heavyweight. They now both have great coaches. It feels like the Big Ten is on the come. It feels like there's momentum in the conference that I didn't feel.
Oh, a buy, like something to buy as opposed to sell?
Yes.
Oh, I thought a buy week or buy.
No.
Like a buy.
Yeah. That's what it feels like to me. Does it feel like that to you?
It feels very competitive to me.
Mm-hmm.
At the highest level of college football.
Season opens September 3rd at Utah. Coach, when do you put in a game plan? How does it work?
It's a process. It's been going on for months and will continue over the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm. You're not a rear view mirror guy. It doesn't seem like you're kind of forge your way, go get stuff.
This feels like one of those where you ask like 50 questions on a.
Well, you're giving me You're not giving me a ton to work with, Coach. So I just want to find something out about Jim Harbaugh, the human being.
Okay.
I want to find out about Jim Harbaugh. I'm a player right now, and I want to play for a bunch of schools. I'm listening to Jim Harbaugh. I want to play for Jim. Well, I mean.
Do you have any eligibility, Colin?
No, and I can't play worth a damn. What I'm saying is I'm trying to I want Jim Harbaugh, the guy. Because I bring all these coaches on, and I want the guy. I mean, what? I'm a 4-3 wide receiver. Why should I play at Michigan?
You are?
No, if I was. This seems terribly difficult, Jim. For you, this is just not work. I love you to death, I really do, but it seems like we're going nowhere with this. And I love you. I'm a huge Harbaugh fan.
What can I do to make your interview better?
You can't. I'm just asking open-ended questions, and you have not much to say. I want you to sell your program. That's why I bring Urban on, and I bring Steve Sark. I love you guys. I want you to sell your program. Listen, I love you. It's not working. I appreciate you stopping by, Jim Harbaugh. I've been in the business 10 years, folks. That was a clunker. There's not much I can do about that. I tried. I asked every open-ended question I could. You got nothing to say. There you go. I'm getting these emails. God, this is painful. Yeah, it was painful for me. I love him. I love Jim Harbaugh. I was trying to go somewhere. He didn't have any pauses. I was going back to my interview tricks. Why? What? How? What? Why? Nothing to say. Get to Subway, new turkey, bacon, guacamole today. Subway, eat fresh. Listen, he's a very intense guy. He is different. I mean, people in San Francisco said, he's difficult. You know what's going to be funny? The 2 or 3 guys I know in San Francisco that don't love Harbaugh, I guarantee you will text me. That's why it didn't last in San Francisco. You can't have a conversation. He's very intense. I really like him, and I think he'll turn it around. But when I bring Urban Meyer on the show, and Nick Saban on the show, and Stark on the show, they've figured out how to sell their program. I mean, they've figured it out. Bob Stoops comes on this show. He's unbelievable. The Bob Stoops that beat Alabama. Nick Saban's unbelievable on the air. Steve Sarkisian's unbelievable. I've been doing this 25 years. That's the clunkiest interview I've ever had. I ask the same questions. I want guys to... Calipari comes on my show last week and is a riot. He's telling me to be quiet. We laughed on the air for 10 minutes. Nothing I can do. But I'm trying to make all these guys look good. If they don't want to talk, they don't want to talk. I mean, if they don't want to, it's nothing I can do. Yeah, I'm not.
Colin, what do you think? Put that in the podcast?
No, I mean, listen, if you're an 18-year-old kid and just heard Jim Harbaugh on my show, I'd choose Urban Meyer in Ohio State. I would go to Steve Sarkisian or Jim Moore or Nick Saban or Charlie Strong. I mean, I try to make everybody sound good, have fun, lighten it up, sell your program. That interview was live. Now you see why I tape like every 4th interview. I mean, Michigan fan boards today will be like, Cowherd's brutal. Folks, 3 minutes in, he had nothing to say. Yeah, I mean, I got to move on. There's nothing I can do with it. I'm not going to torture my audience. It was so bad it was good. No, that was just bad. I really do. Now I know why
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
People are saying, I felt so bad for you, which is nice for people to feel bad with me. I just did, in the 12 years I've been doing sports radio, the roughest interview I've ever done. Our Twitter's blowing up, according to Vince. Don't feel bad for me. I've got a great life. It's funny. Everybody that's done sports radio or live interviews, we've all had an egg. And my thing is, then make it into a funny segment, talk about it, make it part of the fabric of your show. I'm getting Michigan fans who hate me, and they're like, dude, you tried. He just didn't want to talk, and there's nothing I can do about that. There really isn't. I remember years ago, God, this must have been a decade ago. Jim Rome interviewed a kid, a baseball player from, I think, like Florida State, and Jim asked really good, he did the best he could. The kid said yes or no 13 straight times. At one point, Jim said, brother, I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can. You get them with politicians, you get them with sports figures. My job is, I do usually 3 interviews a day just because I need a break, 3 hours talking. There's not many places you can go. Jim's very intense. He can be very awkward. We all know that. That was the knock in San Francisco, is that he was very difficult and awkward and intense. And I like intense people. But, Michigan fans will probably on their message board today chew me up. I've done 3,000 interviews. Jerry Seinfeld, Judd Apatow, Peter Guber, industry leaders, and they're great. I ask the same basic why, how questions. There's not a lot I can do with that. And again, when I bring a coach on, I don't bring a lot of these college football coaches on. I bring on the big dogs because I don't need a bunch of interviews. I'm trying to. I bring on guys. I want to see Michigan succeed. I want to see Alabama succeed. I like the big traditional powers, but you got to help me a little. There is no perfect question, but you got to help me a little.
That was on me.
Yeah.
A little too hard.
Yeah, that was, you're awkward. Now, I like intense, and he is awkward. We all know that. But people ask, why do you tape interviews? Well, we don't tape many, but we do tape some, often because that's what happens.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it was.
Can't disagree with that.
But it's, for the guys saying, Colin, that interview was, listen, I've had industry leaders on, 6 of them in the last month. They've all gone unbelievable. Harbaugh's a different cat, okay? And I'm a Harbaugh fan. He's just not a great interview. John Harbaugh's pretty good. Dad Harbaugh's pretty good. The Dad Harbaugh listens to the show. He'll probably call Jim and say, that was rough. Why'd you do that? Yeah, I mean, I want him to succeed. I mean, college football is better when Jim Harbaugh and Michigan are good. I don't want Boise State going to the national championship game. I want the big dogs. I want the Yankees and the Lakers and the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe there's a Joe Harbaugh I can talk later through today. But, yeah, I mean, it's let me see what the Michigan I'll do this real quick. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Michigan fans are saying, like, dude, you tried. You tried. That was not. Okay. I did. I really did. I write down 4 or 5 questions, open it. I was going to ask him about Judge Judy. My questions were all for him to have fun. I was going to ask him about Judge Judy and, some funny stuff. I couldn't even get to it. After about the first 6, I'm like, sayonara.
At what point did you know it was gone?
Well, usually, generally speaking, by the second, people, like I like interviews to go about 6-7 minutes. Like Jerry Seinfeld was great. But, some people pause, some people are different. But you can tell if people are in the mood, and you can tell if people are not in the mood. And, I mean, I'd say most of my interviews are pretty solid. Sometimes they can be really good. I don't have a lot of clunkers. But, again, I don't think Scott Van Pelt has clunkers. I don't think Mike and Mike have clunkers. When you do it long enough, Dan Patrick I don't think has a lot of clunkers. I think we've all had one. And that's why I stay away from a lot of younger athletes, young kids, 23, 24. They're just not ready for the stage. I try to stay away from most coaches because they give you cliches. But, and people, I wanted to talk Utah, the opener, because it's the first college football game of the year. I wanted them to promote Michigan, and, hey, it's your first game. It's exciting. And they won't talk about it. So, by the way, it'll be interesting because I can go back about a week later and see the numbers for interviews. It'll be interesting to see what the audience did. Was it so painful they turned off, or were they hanging around because it was so god-awful? Which is, it's kind of funny. I really did. It was, let me see. Let me just check something real quick. I'll go on. Say that, Vince, the Detroit station's already asking for it? I'm sure this morning on Detroit radio, Cowherd's after Michigan. No, I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not.
I'll ask again. Are we putting it in the podcast or no?
No, God, no.
Everyone here says yes. You say no. If it's getting all this internet play, I think we have to put it in.
I mean, seriously, though. But if I was an 18-year-old kid and I've got Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh and I'm driving around in a car and I got 3 million listeners in a week, that's why Urban Meyer's considered the best recruiter maybe in college football. I mean, at some point, you got to sell your program. You can't. This isn't a local show. I'm going to get 20 million people on my podcast alone this year. I mean, we got millions of people listening. We want you to sell the hell out of your brand.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Can't disagree with that.
God. Jesus. So we should have a Twitter poll. Podcast in or out? It would be the strangest because in podcasts we only put 45 minutes in. We put one interview in. I don't think that's the interview. Can I ask a question? Can I just end the show now? I don't think I can top this. Could I just say it's over today? I had a food poisoning last night anyway. I don't feel that great. I'm exhausted. Can you imagine being a player at camp? Jim wore me out in 4 minutes on an interview. Can I just do 2 for the road now? Can I just end the show right now? I just end the show right now. I mean, Jim Harbaugh hates me. That was the worst interview ever. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Can I just do that? I got to get to this story of this guy's the smartest free agent ever in the history of the sport. Bobby Bonilla. A lot of you people don't remember Bobby Bonilla. But Bobby Bonilla got paid yesterday $1.2 million. Hasn't played forever. And what Bobby Bonilla agreed to years ago was deferred payments at an 8% annual interest rate. The Mets now have to pay him for 20 years. And because of the 8% annual interest rate, at the time the Mets ownership didn't mind the interest rate because their investments with Bernie Madoff were giving them double, triple returns, 10, 12, 15, 18%, 30%. But CBSSports.com reported in 2013, Bonilla receives a separate payment for the next 25 years. And this is what all you athletes should do. Financial experts always tell you if you win the lottery, take a lump sum. You'll make more long term. But the truth is most people aren't financial experts, and most people don't have financial discipline. So Bobby Bonilla has used the system to ration it, and it makes total sense. 50% of athletes, not saying Bobby Bonilla would go broke, but about 50% of athletes, they go broke. I mean, they go broke. They go broke. So this is what athletes should do. I told NBA Commissioner David Stern years ago, I said, it's embarrassing that 50% of your players are broke 5 years later. First of all, it's sad. Second of all, it's embarrassing. It makes your league look bad. Bobby Bonilla's figured it out. Athletes don't have, like most of us, the financial savvy or the restraint. So Bobby Bonilla's contract, if you really think about it, it's like when you win the lottery, they say lump sum. But A, that's a lot of stress, and it's overwhelming, and people without money in their lives rarely connect when they win $100 million with the best financial advisor in their town. So Bobby Bonilla has done something that I think is incredibly brilliant, is that he just said, maybe I don't have great financial savvy. I don't work on Wall Street, and I'm like every other human. I may not have the interest, the acumen, or the discipline. And he just says, I'll just take $1 million for the next 25 years. I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Years ago, I talked to a guy, and he said, you should never pay your house off. I said, but what if you're rich? He goes, don't pay your house off. And I said, yeah, but couldn't I argue I won't have the stress of a mortgage for the next 20 years? I think financial experts sometimes forget on the whole lump sum thing. I'm not a financial expert. I like the idea of spreading it out over 25 years so I don't screw it up, because the chances are I'd screw it up. All right, this is Dave. Dave, you're in the herd. Go ahead, Dave. Thanks for calling, bud.
Yeah, absolutely, Colin. If you think about that interview you just had with Jim Harbaugh, sports talk radio, especially a show like yours where it's being national and syndicated everywhere, that's a powerful tool. So to me, if I were a young kid listening to that, or I were, a parent of a young kid who's playing football and I heard that, that just shows what a tough guy he is really to deal with, and appreciate, your honesty for, obviously, taking him off, because it just shows, that he didn't really have any interest in the interview. And, to me, that showed how uninteresting and uncompelling he really was. And at the end of the day, if you're a young kid and you're going to commit to go somewhere, especially if you're going to move away from home, and you hear that, that's really, really frustrating and tough. So I appreciate what you did there, man, because it took, some guys in the business I don't think would do that, but great job as always, man.
Dave, I appreciate it. My loyalty has always been to two things, honesty and the audience. Okay, because they'll travel. My honesty will travel. My audience mostly will travel. And I just couldn't put you through it anymore. I sat there as a host. I thought, this is not fair for a guy driving around in Ohio. He's going to a busy day of work. I can't put him through this. He wants to be entertained. It wasn't like he was goofy. He just didn't want to talk. By the way, I just got an email from a friend of mine, Dave Shore. He is a program director, a good friend of the show. He is now in Michigan. He just said, my guys are on your side. They said Harbaugh stinks as an interviewer. I want to get you on my afternoon show later today.
You're in the herd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
If you did not hear our Jim Harbaugh interview in the first hour, it was dreadful. And in my 25 years of media, that was the most uncomfortable 5 minutes in the history of my career. It is trending now in the United States on Twitter, The Herd. It was just awful. But I still root for Jim Harbaugh. I think San Francisco 49er football will not be as entertaining or as good without him. It was almost worse than a dinner with Russillo. That's how clunky it was. But I think if you've worked in this business a long time, this is just the reality of our business. John Ireland's the voice of the Lakers. For the record, It says here they're interested in Kevin Love, DeAndre Jordan, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Let me start with this, though, John. You and I have known each other for years. Have you ever had a clunky interview?
Oh, yeah. I was just telling Vince off the air. Well, let me start with this. Colin, there's a lot of talk out here about how hard it's going to be to follow Vin Scully, the legendary Dodger announcer who's in his 80s, still going strong, still on the top of the game. There's an old saying, you never want to follow Sinatra. Everybody's talking about how you never want to follow Scully. I would like to say to you and your audience, I am perfectly comfortable following Jim Harbaugh. I one time interviewed Jerry Krause, the general manager of the Chicago Bulls. And I promise you, Colin, I'm not just saying this to make you feel better. It was worse than your Harbaugh interview. He was on a speakerphone, and he refused to take us off the speakerphone. And everything we asked him was a 1 or 2 word answer. He just would not engage. And I found out, Bill Weir, I don't know if you ever met Bill.
Oh, Bill, talented guy, CNN, love him, yeah.
Yeah, just super good broadcaster. I mean, Bill could interview a rock and make it interesting. He told me one time when he was working as a sports guy in Chicago that Krause was so short with him that he said the F word on a live shot, tore his mic off, and walked away. So I think the only fair thing you can do is track down Jerry Krause for tomorrow's show and see if you can top it.
John Ireland, voice of the Lakers. All right, so let's just, it's very interesting. There's always been an understanding in the NBA that it used to be like this for the Yankees in baseball, that like the Lakers and the Celtics, there's a couple traditional powers, players want to play. But we're seeing now, especially with social media, guys create their own brands. And if the Lakers can't land LaMarcus or DeAndre or Kevin Love, could I argue that no longer does the Lakers brand have the gravitas it used to?
Well, I think you can argue that the big markets no longer have the advantage that they used to. Everybody's talking about how the Lakers are going to have this tremendous advantage next year because the cap's going way up. But the cap's going up for everybody, Colin. And as you point out, Kevin Durant, who does as many commercials as anybody, plays in Oklahoma City. So you could make that argument, but the argument the Lakers are going to make, and I think it's a unique argument that they can and only they can make, is there have really only been, think about this, Colin, since 1960 when the Lakers moved here, there have been 5 what I would call face of the Lakers players. They were the actual face of the Lakers. It was Jerry West, Kareem, Magic, Shaq, and Kobe. That's it. That's the list. So when these free agents are coming out here, what the Lakers are selling is, look, this isn't just a basketball decision. This is a decision that can set you up for the rest of your life. Look at those 5 names I mentioned. Those people went on to have incredibly successful careers. Kobe's still playing, but he's set up for the rest of his life. And when they do these pitch meetings, when they did the pitch meeting last night with Aldridge, it's not just Mitch Kupchak and Byron Scott in the meeting. Jeannie Buss is in the meeting. Time Warner Cable, who has their own Lakers network, is in the meeting saying, look, if you have a brand and you want to build it, we're going to put you in the media capital of the world, and we can give you your own show, we can give you your own outlet, we can give you, they have a unique job that they're selling here, and that's what I think they can still do.
John Ireland, voice of the Lakers. Okay, so let's listen, DeAndre Jordan, he is what he is. He can protect the rim, some alley-oop dunks, limited offensively. But LaMarcus Aldridge, I think he's a really good player. I don't think he's transcendent. But are the Lakers in a situation, John, where it's a market with lots of options, the beach, sunny weather, and they've just got to be more interesting, that in a perfect year they wouldn't give Aldridge this sort of time, but they're a little desperate because after the last couple years, they've got to at least be viable. Is that a fair take?
Yeah, that's really fair. And as a matter of fact, they would tell you, Colin, they struck out last year. They did these face of the Lakers pitches I'm talking about for 2 people, LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, and they couldn't convince either one to take the money. But I asked Jeannie Buss once, I said, who is that? Who is the next face of the Lakers? And her answer was good. She said, I don't know, but he's out there. You've got to get somebody who's incredibly confident and who actually thinks that he can be an elite player. That's why there's so much buzz about this D'Angelo Russell. I mean, the way this kid is talking, Colin, he wants the spotlight. He's not only is he not running away from it, he wants it. I mean, he's talking about, bring it on. You should have him on your show. I mean, he'll do any interview, he'll talk to anybody, and he will openly tell you, my goal is to be, a great Laker. I want my name on the wall. And so they like that, and they're trying to find the next guy. You're right about Aldridge. I would say that is he a top 10 player in the NBA? He's probably right on that cusp.
Yeah, 11, 12, 13. He's close.
Yeah. And if you can get him, and I should tell you this, they're not just going after Aldridge. They're trying to get them both. I don't know if they can get DeAndre Jordan and LaMarcus Aldridge, but they're going to try and get Aldridge and a center. Or, they're going to try and get two guys with the cap space that they have. And I don't know if it'll work. They're not the favorite to get anybody. Aldridge is favored to go to the Spurs. DeAndre is favored to go back to the Clippers. They're going to have to continue to adjust on the fly. And they're holding meetings all day and all night, every day, Colin. They were up until midnight last night doing this. They were up at it again at 7 o'clock this morning. They're rebuilding the team on the fly, which makes it really fun for us.
Now, before we let you go, John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, let's say they don't get any of them. Who, if not loses a job, who loses big if they whiff again on 3 or 4 of these guys?
Well, I don't know. You keep in mind, Colin, that they're one of the most, if not the most successful sports franchise on the planet. I mean, from a business perspective, they continue to make money. So I don't know if your question is anybody going to get blamed or fired? They're still a pretty successful entity, and then they have Kobe coming off the books next year, so they can go to anybody and say, hey, you can not only come be the face of the Lakers, you can bring 2 of your friends with you. We have 3 max slots. So I don't think there will be, like Jerry DiPoto, the Angels GM, got fired last night.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here would be fired or replaced until Kobe comes off the books. But you could say that they're 0 for 2 because they went for 2 guys last year, and they're going for 2 guys this year and offered all 4 of them max deals, and they would be 0 for 4. But I'll leave you with this. Remember that their team now is set up a lot like Oklahoma City was set up 4 or 5 years ago. Oklahoma City, Colin, in one of those years the Lakers won the title, 09 or 10, was the 8th seed, and they took the Lakers to the brink in round 1 with a 22-year-old Westbrook, a 23-year-old Durant, and a 21-year-old Harden. Now they've got D'Angelo Russell 19, Julius Randle 20, Jordan Clarkson 22. They've got a young core. They just need to get a star, and that's what they're trying to do.
Good talking to you, buddy.
Hey, have a great day, Colin, and remember, nowhere to go but
up. John Ireland. Getting support from my friends on Twitter, my text, all the guys I work with, they're like, dude, you tried. You did everything.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
It's really funny the stuff I'm getting this morning. I just, I've had 2 emails from people who have interviewed me this morning, or have texted me this morning, who said, Colin, I've interviewed Harbaugh in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 months. It was my worst interview ever, too. Don't feel bad for me. The whole thing is kind of funny. But we had a Jim Harbaugh interview that in my 25 years was the roughest interview I've ever done. In fact, I just cut it off. And the reason I cut it off is because it wasn't good for you, the listener. And in the end, our rating system, PPM, is rough on guys like me. If I don't entertain you, you turn me off fast. People's attention spans are very, very short. And I probably, I just got to a point where I'm like, he doesn't want to be on this show, and I don't want to make him look bad, and he's looking bad, and frankly, I don't look great. So my audience is bailing. I just got, let me see if look at this. Yeah, if this is getting national traffic. I just got a guy that runs, look at this. I should bring on, I don't think I have time today. The blogs will have this today, so if you want to go watch it, it'll be on our podcast. If you want to watch it, judge it, go for it. and, make your own decisions on it. But the reason I pulled out of it, do we have the end of the interview? The reason I pulled out of it wasn't to be rude, but you just can't. People just turn the radio off these days. If you don't give people what they want quickly, they just bolt. And our new rating system over the last 7-8 years is really, really cruel. You've got to be intense, you've got to be funny, you've got to be quick, or people bail. And if it's not good enough, they jet. For the record, I told the guys this morning I thought of something. That Amy Schumer is a very funny comedian. She's in a new movie called Trainwreck, and LeBron James is in it. And she was quoted saying, not like he needs employment, but that guy could be an actor. And I think sports people are overlooking this as a LeBron motive. One of the things I really believe that LeBron and his group of guys, they see themselves as more refined than Michael Jordan. Michael punched teammates. He was an awful executive. He was selfish. He's a gambler, the cigars. And I think LeBron sees himself, forget the player, he just sees himself as sort of an elevated version of Michael the human. And Vin Diesel just made $47 million as an action hero. The Rock's making $70. Michael Jordan, Kobe, Magic Bird can do commercials. I really honestly think LeBron and his camp, who have unbelievable Hollywood connections already, Disney, ABC, HBO, I think they're going to push him to do massive production deals and stuff on the air too. Because I think LeBron sees himself as the next generation of a superstar, and the next generation of superstar doesn't just do commercials. LeBron's passed up a lot of commercials. LeBron sees himself as a businessman, and his followers and his guys see him as a refined, elevated version of Michael. I'm not talking the player. I'm talking the human. Michael was gambling, cigars, selfish, girls, awful exec, poor teammate, punch people, win at all costs. And I would not be surprised. LeBron's people are big in Hollywood already and growing. I would not be surprised if LeBron, from this point forward, you see him in Hollywood stuff, producing or on in kind of a Vin Diesel. I'm not kidding. That's never been done. Shaq tried. It was awful. It's never been done. Phil, you're in the Herd on interview on ESPN. In fact, Phil, hold on one second, buddy. The interview with Jim Harbaugh started going sideways. I tried to give Harbaugh a way out. Here's how it ended. I want Jim Harbaugh, the guy, because I bring all these coaches on, and I want the guy. I mean, what? I'm a 4-3 wide receiver. Why should I play at Michigan?
You are?
No, if I was. This seems terribly difficult, Jim. For you. This is just not work. I love you to death, I really do, but it seems like we're going nowhere with this. And I love you. I'm a huge Harbaugh fan.
What can I do to make your interview better?
You can't. I'm just asking open-ended questions, and you have not much to say. I want you to sell your program. That's why I bring Urban on, and I bring Steve Sark. I love you guys. I want you to sell your program. Listen, I love you. It's not working. I appreciate you stopping by, Jim Harbaugh. There you go. That's what I did. He had nothing to say. Phil, you're in the Herd. Thanks for holding, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin, love the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, I told you, Guy, I'm driving home from Youngstown, or from Columbus to Youngstown, and running on 3 hours sleep, wondering how I was going to stay awake. That interview came on. I am chuckling to myself, and I am cruising on home. Don't even need to take my 5-hour energy because I'm laughing so hard. That was awesome. You guys do a great job. Keep up the good work.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I mean, there'll be some people, how can you hang up on Jim Harbaugh? Listen, when you're bleeding to death on the air, you put a tourniquet on it. It's about the best way. I put a tourniquet on that interview because both of us were bleeding to death on the air, okay? Bryant, you're in the Herd, buddy. Fire away.
Hey, Colin. Long time, first time. Thanks. Love the show. Couple of comments. First of all, anybody that thinks that gyms like that in the home of athletes is living in La La Land. And second of all, Jim's resume.
I didn't know he was like. I didn't know he was like that. Would you think I'd put him on if I knew he was going to be that bad?
Well, Belichick's the same way. And
I wouldn't put Belichick. I wouldn't put Belichick on. Belichick hates the media. Harbaugh can be funny and playful at times. I mean, you really think I'd put it on if I thought it was going to be that bad?
Well, of course not.
Okay,
but
then there. So there.
I think he was playing up his persona. If you will.
Well, that's bad radio. Yeah, that's.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's why. I mean, Brian, we bring people on to entertain the country. I had to cut that off. That was awful. And Jim was doing himself no favors. I mean, keep in mind, Harbaugh agreed to it. We asked, he said, yeah. I mean, if he didn't want to come on, I don't badger people. I've never ripped a guy for not coming on. That's not my act. I don't do that stuff. And by the way, I don't attack people. I have more of a Larry King style. Let's have fun. It's 6 minutes. Gives me a break. I don't have to talk for another 6 minutes. I do it the Larry King style. I'm not a Bill O'Reilly guy. And by the way, that way's fine too, but that's not my shtick. I do more the Howard Stern, Larry King. Let's make it interesting and odd and fun and laugh and playful. Yeah, I'm not trying to hang up on anybody, but he needed to be hung up on. That was awful.
What can I do to make your interview better?
Anything like talk?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate
Can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Okay, super duper.
Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Timing's everything in life. And next year, the salary cap is going to explode. And so all these guys will make more money. Mm-hmm. I still struggle. I'm old school, Tommy. I still struggle. DeAndre Jordan, $20 million for a limited offensive player. How does a general manager look at it? Knowing, I like Brook Lopez. I don't like him for 20 large. But as a general manager, do you look at it and say, well, that's really 15 with the old cap?
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
If you don't like my answers, are you going to throw me out of here? Is it over, or how does this work?
I just do it for Big Ten football coach.
Okay. So I still got a little.
You got a little rope.
Get used to what you're seeing, because the cap is going to explode next year and explode again the next year. All this money is coming in from the TV deals. When that happens, the players, by definition, get 50% of it. Doesn't matter whether they're good or not; they're going to get it. Okay. And there's a huge adjustment coming where the DeAndre Jordans of the world are going to get 25. The numbers are going to keep going up. The waterfall effect is significant. If the cap goes to $90 million, the minimum team salary goes to like 81. Every team's going to have to spend over 80 at the end.
And the Lakers right now, outside of Kobe, they're not paying anybody.
Right, and the Sixers never pay anybody, but everybody's going to have to pay everybody, and the numbers are going to go through the roof. And it's hard for me to get my arms around it right now, and I'm sure every front office in the league, you have this idea of what a guy is worth, and all these numbers are going to jump big time, and the guys who don't jump are the max salary guys. That they jump $7 to $8 million a year. But I'm of the belief that LeBron should be paid like Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, the real elite guys in the league,
6 of them.
Those 6 guys should get the bulk of this increase because we're all tuning in to watch them. But that's not the case.
What will happen is Brook Lopez, who's worth 9 in the old format, will get 21, and Patrick Beverly, worth 4.5, will get 9. So I think you're saying it's just sometimes in business, I think this has probably happened in Hollywood.
Yeah.
The going rate used to be like Jim Carrey made $20 million a movie. There are people now that you couldn't pay me to walk across. If they were in my backyard performing, I'd close the drapes. But there are a lot of actors I'm just not going to watch. Let me ask you this. You're the Lakers, DeAndre Jordan. You have 2 young players, really, ostensibly. Julius Randle, a 4 is a rookie. D'Angelo Russell, a 1's a rookie.
Yep.
So LaMarcus Aldridge doesn't even fit because you've got a 4.
So you got to sell LaMarcus or Kevin Love on the idea. Yeah, those guys both fit because you could play together. LaMarcus can play 5 and spread the floor as a shooting 5. Kevin Love could play the 5 along with Randall. That's not the point. The point is you got to sell one of those 2 guys on a 2-year build, because how excited is either of those guys about going and mentoring the 2 rookies who've never played a game in their lives? You got to say, come with Kobe for this year, with the youth as it's coming along, and we'll get a bunch more help next year when we got all that money when the cap explodes. They can sell on something like that. The Knicks don't even really have that sales pitch as much because the Knicks don't have as much juice around Carmelo to be excited about. Are you excited to go play with Porzingis and Grant from Notre Dame? It's a different duo to at least go play with.
Because D'Angelo Russell, there's a lot of people that think he could be the next star.
Oh, yeah. No, he's talented, and he could come on fast because he's so gifted.
And it's a guard league, and he's going to control the ball. Tom Penn joining us. When you see a lot of guys. I said, you see a lot of these Patrick Beverley guys. Portland signed a guy whose name I struggle to pronounce. I don't see a lot of landscape changers. I don't think the NBA next year, regardless of where LaMarcus Aldridge go, is radically changed. Do you? Is there if Patrick Beverley goes to Cleveland? No. But he's very good defensive. He's Matthew Dellavedova with talent.
Well, there's going to be tinkering around the edges, but the seismic shift that you're talking about, there isn't a game changer that way.
Okay, you are. Let's play a game.
All right. As long as I'm not Jim Harbaugh.
I'm Kevin Love.
Okay.
You're my agent. You're Kevin Love's agent. I'm Kevin Love. Listen, I'm coming off a couple injuries. I can make a lot more with a one-year deal. Should I just sign now, guaranteed with Cleveland, 5 straight finals in the East?
Yeah, so in that case, yes, you ought to sign as long a term a deal as you can if you're Kevin Love, in my opinion, because of the injury factor and the history that he's had. He can lock in 5 years in Cleveland. He could only lock in 4 years in L.A. if he's going to go to L.A. So if he wants to go to L.A., and by the way, any scenario we're talking about, you get the optionality to cancel the last year. So if he went to L.A., he'd do a 3-year guarantee plus a 4th year at his option. So if he is healthy in 3 years, he can go ring the bell again, right? So you're always going to do, but the question is, do you do a 1+1 for a 2-year guarantee so I can opt out in a year? Or do you do that 4+5 so I got those full 5 years in? In the Kevin Love case, I'd say get the 5, get the money. Lakers present an interesting option, though, because he could get just about as much money on a 4-year deal. He's going to leave the 5th year on the table. But he might have a more fulfilling role in revitalizing the Lakers, in being the guy that was in Minnesota, gets all those touches.
They'll want him to score
gets all
24
those
a night.
numbers. He's a star in L.A. He's something for the future. I could see him buying that Lakers sales pitch, taking less to go to L.A. and being more of a real central figure, an A-list player in L.A.
Anthony Davis signed for massive money, and Vince and I came in this morning, and his reaction was mine. When I saw it on Twitter last night, I was like, oh, bummer. I want to watch him in the finals. Do you think, am I awful? I mean, nothing against New Orleans.
No, I don't think you're awful. I think you're wrong, though.
Oh, you think he's going to be in the finals? I may throw you off the air.
Look, I think he's this good. Right? He's this kind of transformational player, right? So Tim Duncan did it in San Antonio. LeBron James can do it wherever he goes.
You think he's that good?
I think he's in that rarefied air category, and other players recognize it. He's going to get so much better, and he's an unguardable force on the horizon coming. So I think he is in New Orleans. If they build around him the right way, I don't think it's ridiculous that he'd be in the finals.
Yeah, this deal is 3 more years, so he could do what LeBron did. He would be 7 years in and could leave.
No, he's locking in 5 more years on top of the one he has coming. So he's got a 6-year arrangement in New Orleans.
So he's there.
Yeah, he's there. He might be able to opt out after 5 years, the way you'd structure it. That always the option year at the end. But Colin, he's getting the best of both worlds. He's getting a guarantee of the new cap explosion a year early. So he's not locking in on this year's dollars. The way it works, he agrees to whatever the maximum is going to be, because rookies can do that a year out. So he gets the benefit of the boom a year early. He has to take that right now.
Tom Penn telling us how free agency works. Tools of the game brought to you by the Home Depot. Saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. That was easy. I needed that interview. It was a rough first hour.
I'm here to help.
I needed John Ireland and Tom Penn, my friends, to stop by at the Herd.
Check out the Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast.